Weak on China policies allow the Chinese Communist Party to run wild. I think that's basically the takeaway of what you're explaining. And I agree with that. I think that this country has been very weak on Chinese policies. And here's another one, another headline. Joe Biden resisting pressure from people in Congress and he's looking for a short-term extension. He says short-term, but we'll take it for what it is. To a key Chinese science pact, the landmark agreement on cooperation in science and technology on the verge of collapsing for the first time in more than 40 years, which it should. Look, the COVID virus came from Wuhan. That's not even in dispute anymore. It was funded by Americans. You and I and other people living in the United States paid for that gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. We paid a high price for that, and yet Joe Biden wants to extend this cooperation pact with China, doesn't he?
Right, Steve. And I think that the United States should not only seek an extension, it should seek a pause on this agreement. That we all knew that, this agreement was signed by the CCP leader Deng Xiaoping and President Carter in Washington back in the 1979, and it was considered as the first agreement, after the two countries established a normalization of the country's relationships. I think that the American people should ask one key essential questions. Is the U.S.-China relationship normalized today when the Chinese Communist Party released the COVID virus and killed millions of American people and families, when the Chinese Communist Party sent over, agents and spies into your naval departments and threatening your national defense and national security? The U.S.-China relationship is not normalized, and in fact, that the ultimate threat is the CCP. So, that there's no way for us to seek an extension, but an ultimate pause.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. Look, China is looking to undermine America at every turn. We've talked about those factories for EVs here in the United States. I heard Donald Trump talk about it yesterday on his conversation with Tucker, which is we're too weak on China. China's selling us windmills and solar panels that are, well, frankly, they're junk. They're not going to meet America's energy needs. Maybe some of the products work, maybe they don't, but they're not going to meet America's energy needs. And China's trying to undermine America's energy needs because they know that's the shortest way to crippling America, is taking away, vast quantities of cheap energy. So the energy sector is where China's really handicapping this country, aren't they?
Exactly. And I think, in the past that China never offered or provided any, essential technology to support the U.S. or to healthily cooperate with the United States. That in fact that the United States had been offering and providing technology to the CCP. And this is what we saw, that the Chinese Communist Party had bought out, the U.S. technology professionals and scientists and researchers, and to fund the CCP researchers and to further on impact the national security here into the United States. So there is no, cooperation between the CCP and the United States. There's only stealing from the CCP, to the United States. I think that's the ultimate concept, and that's very simple and straightforward with the Chinese Communist Party and its past, relationship with the U.S.
I completely agree with that. What do we need to do here? I mean, there are certain members of Congress that stand up and say something, but the problem, Aila, as I see it, is too many Republicans. They're also in the pocket of Chinese representatives, influencers, and Chinese money. I'll give you the last word.
Right, Steve. I think that the CCP had, tried to expand its hand not into just Democrats, but also Republicans as well. I think this government and this administration, especially for the next administration, the key topic to maintain and ensure the safety of the United States is how to defeat the Chinese Communist Party. There's only defeat. There's no cooperate, and only by taking down this regime would ensure the safety, not just the Chinese people, but also the U.S. Americans.
No partial measures, no half steps is what you're saying. I agree with that.